Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids, and today we're breaking some hearts. We are breaking some hearts. Champions that have been power crept in the game. Something that's really springing to my mind at the moment, right, with the 10x event for Taris and for Marishka, the one coming tomorrow. Just how insanely strong the new champions in the game are. Well, there's a whole bunch of champions that have been around for a long time, and maybe they were pretty good when they first came out, but they've just been power crap. These champions, they're just not that exciting anymore. They're not that good anymore. I am curious what your top 10 would be. Have I left anyone out? Or have I picked someone and saying that they're not so good anymore that you're like, no, they're totally as amazing as they once were? Let me know. But without any further ado, let's dive in. And the first one I got to touch on, we're probably going to be touching on the Banner Lords quite a lot here. I have to pick out Raglan as my first pick. Raglan has an absolutely amazing revive, a 2-turn cooldown single target revive when booked that brings the champion back with full turn meter. Now that is actually really good, but then her A2, this is power crept just like crazy. It's a full cleanse with the heal, but the heal is proportional to this champion's attack? Huh? What? What the heck? And it's a 4-turn cooldown as well. This is just really old design, right? These days, a full cleanse with a heal would easily be on a 3-turn cooldown, and they're often coming with like block debuffs or something else special as well. This is very old school. And then also scaling off of attack. This is a support-based champion. With a revive and a cleanse, it just doesn't make any sense. So yeah, for Raglan, I definitely feel like this revive is super cool. This move definitely ditched the whole attack thing, just make the healing better, make it a 3-turn cooldown. It feels like it needs something else. Maybe she needs a cool passive as well to go alongside it, maybe some sort of shield she can put out to protect these champions that she's reviving. I don't know, but she definitely needs something else, and certainly we're seeing all of the Duchesses and Sifis, the Marishkas, all of these champions all over the place. Python in live arena, they're just picked and picked and picked. All the revivers, but Raglan barely getting a look in. Really power crept by the newer legendaries in the game. Another reviver is going to be my second pick here, and this one is Blind Seer. Again, a champion I feel has been really power crept. Brings in an AoE revive with block damage. I mean, that's cool on a 5-turn cooldown. She also has an AoE block buffs with a shield. It's okay. 3 hits at random with some turn meter deplete. It's okay, but like this champion, look, again, I probably like a lot of these champions. If she was like the first legendary you've got on your account, if you get her early, I mean, yeah, absolutely. She's going to hard carry you when you start out the game. But as you go further and further into the game, fighting tougher challenges, as you're getting more of the newer champions, I feel like she's really going to fall off very hard. She's just pretty underwhelming. I feel like Mighty Uko comes in as an AoE revive at block damage. Mighty Uko really comes in and starts to bring a whole lot more than she brings in his toolkit. Feel like Raka Viletide is a newer Void Legendary. Again, very similar, bringing shielding, bringing an AoE or 5. Raka brings a whole lot more than Blind Seer does. And Raka's even fairly underrated, not super used either. Yeah, Blind Seer, I feel like she needs something else. I don't know what else this champion needs, to be honest. But it's just a very underwhelming kit for a Void Legendary these days. Again, you look at Taris, you look at Marishka, you look at Jorgid, and then you look at Blind Seer, and you go, okay, yeah, this is a design from like 3 years in the past, right? Next up, number 3, we're going back to the Bannerlords. I do have this champion, and that is Manaya. Cool looking champion, actually. Very cool. Cool combo with Coronar, that's for sure, but just an underwhelming champion apart from that. Speed in battles, that's fine. She's got an okay heal with block debuffs, but only if enemy champions are under increased defense. That's a bit underwhelming. It's a nice big chunky heal though. And then if they're fully healed, puts a shield on them. Feels a bit weak for a 4-turn cooldown. That's a lot of, qualifiers that need to be in place for this to work. Not a bad move though. What really feels outdated is her A2 Mending Ways. Single target attack heals this champion and the ally with the lowest HP by 10,000 HP. Oh boy. I mean, just as the game goes further and further, now we've got obviously the faction guardians. We have champion empowerment. We now have ascending gear as well. Who knows? Probably ascending our accessories is going to come soon. Who knows what's going to come next after that? We've got blessings as well and champion ascension too, making champions more powerful. We've got the Great Hall with the area bonuses. Of course, it's just come out, right? With every new thing they add to the game, that inflates our stats, makes them more powerful. A flat stat heal like this just becomes weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker. Where even now, for most people, probably 10,000 heal is really poor. It's just not good at all. So, and it's only going to become worse. This is only going to become worse and worse and worse. So this definitely needs an update. It's kind of a cool idea to have a flat heal like that in the game, but it either needs to be at least twice as strong, or it needs to just scale or something like that. But poor old Manaya, definitely left in the dirt. That's it. I'm so sorry to the Bannerlord. I'm picking on the Bannerlord so hard in this video. Septimus. Let's look at Septimus next. Not a useless champion by any means. He's certainly seen some play in stage 25 of the Sand Devil, so that's pretty cool. He's positive affinity, brings that single target max HP nuke. I think the issue with Septimus and being power crept is, look, this max HP nuke that he's got, really AoE is more so where that's at. You know, Royal Guard and Husk, they're seeing tons of play in Hydra. They're seeing tons of play now in the new Spider Dungeon as well. Poor old Septimus has really been left in the dirt. He's really been left behind. Doesn't see much, again, apart from Sand Devil, like I said. But it's a 4-turn cooldown on this. It's a very long cooldown. I feel like this could be updated, or maybe some enemy max HP in his A1 or something like that. Something else for this guy. Yeah, I feel like even the epic max HP nukers are kind of overshadowing him a little bit. And then obviously in terms of legendaries, Acrisia is just a million times better, which is fair. She's a void. She should be much better than Septimus, but I feel like the gap is probably a bit too big. Septimus needs to be a little bit fancier to keep up with the modern game. Next up, then, we are gonna step away from Bannerlords. Don't worry, I'm pretty sure we're gonna be back if I remember my notes for this video correctly. Next up, we're going to Norak in the Skinwalkers. Now, Norak is a really cool passive. He's immune to stun-free sleep. I mean, that's nice. Could be a bit broader, perhaps. Decreases the damage taken by all allies under one or more buffs by 15%. Allies with no active buffs by 25%. It's a pretty good passive, actually. This passive is cool. It's powerful. I like it. The problem with Norak is his other skills. A1 with a small chance of block active skills. A2 with AoE block buffs on a 3-turn cooldown. There's just not much going on here. The damage isn't that great. At least if he did really good damage, that would be pretty cool. I mean, back in the day, Norak could actually be run as a pretty hard-hitting defensive nuker, but just does not stack up compared to like Harima or Staltis or Ragash, any of the newer defensive nukers. He's nowhere on that level. And then for the block active skills, just not useful, particularly anywhere in the game at the moment. And the block buffs even, amazing for Hydra. It's a great skill, very useful AoE, but man, I talk about all the time he's overshadowed by Ugo, right? But even without Ugo, I feel like he's really overshadowed by, where is she? Is she Knight's Revenant? I always get confused here. No, she's Demon Spawn, right? Even Umbral, and I've clicked the wrong faction. Umbral Enchantress even, I feel like just becomes more useful than him. He's got the cool passive, but hey, Umbral comes in with the 100% block buffs for 3 turns, right? She gets it up all the time. She's void as well, so no weak hits. Man, I tell you, building Hydra teams, it's like, oh, Norak, he's got a great passive, but I'd rather have that more consistent block buffs and save my legendary books, to be honest. Norak definitely needs something extra. He's already been buffed as well, Norak. He definitely needs another buff to stay relevant. Next up then, the champion I'm sad to see fall off pretty hard, and that is Thea the Tomb Angel. I think visually one of the coolest champs in the game, and she's a free champion as well. You get her from Doom Tower Hard, the first champion from Doom Tower Hard Secret Rooms, and I wish she was better. She does hit really hard on Hex Reaper, but again, the power creep is real. Back when she first released, this was a really hard-hitting move. Okay, great, cool. You hit really hard, but nowadays, like, we've got Baron, Jorgid, Paris. There's so many champions now that hit way harder that don't need this Hex setup. And that for me is the big problem with Thea. She's squishy. She needs Hex to be out there to hit hard. She brings Hex to this A1, but it's just very underwhelming. And unfortunately, I don't probably see her really being buffed at any time because she is a free champion. I just don't see it happening, right? Plarium are going to want to have the paid legendaries be more exciting. But yeah, she was kind of cool. She was kind of cool for a good while there because she did hit really hard. And, you know, when Mithrala first came out, we had Rule the Huntsmaster, he came out and stuff, you know. There was some fun combos there, but there's just so many harder hitting champions now that don't need a big setup. Thea's really fallen behind big time. Next up, let's go back to Bannerlords. I feel like we've left Bannerlords for too long. We gotta go back, right? And I'm gonna pick out Rishtov the Bold here. Was never a particularly amazing legendary, but he's really been power crept again, big time. AoE A1, okay, cool. He has a hard enough hitting single target. A3, okay. It was sort of his A2 that was cool. Triple hitter, each one putting out a poison. So 3 poisons out AoE. That's quite nice. That's quite decent. And it is. Again, he's decent. He's usable. But again, the power creep has come in. We've got Supreme Kale bringing way more and bringing out those AoE poisons. We've got Theodore the Savant bringing AoE poisons, poison sensitivity, decreased speed, increased speed, poison explosion, burn explosion. Like, man, poor old Rishtov has really been left in the dirt. Compared to some of these newer legendaries that are putting out AoE poisons or blowing them up or extending them. He just doesn't stack up. The rest of his kit's kind of underwhelming. He's not totally useless. Again, most of these legendaries aren't totally useless. They might have some use, especially if you get them early, but Rishtov definitely stands out as one of the weaker AoE poisoners in the game. Not as bad as Gerda, but probably second worst after Gerda. I don't know why I X'd off the Bannerlords, because of course we're hitting the Bannerlords again. And I'm going to have to pick Black Knight here. Number one of the most bland looking legendaries in the game, unfortunately. Just doesn't look super great. He's old. He's old. He's old. But he comes in. He's got a good chance of provoke on his A1. Okay. And then he's putting out nice healing and stuff. He's been buffed as well, by the way. Putting out some of this stuff here. He has an AoE that does more damage the more HP he loses. Goes unkillable if he loses a lot of health. Not a great legendary. And again, the power creep is real. We've just had a lot of much better provoke champions come to the game since Black Knight was there. Way better provoke champions now. Like Bivald of the Thorn, for example, a great provoker coming in and doing that work. It just makes Black Knight's niche there not so great in terms of bringing continuous heal, increased defense on a 2-turn cooldown. Like, that's pretty cool, but we've got a lot more buff extenders nowadays. We've got a lot of powerful supportive protection champions have come out as well. I mean, Marishka, obviously being case in point, she should be way better. She's a void legendary, but these newer protection champions are so much stronger, so much better. This just doesn't really cut it. It's just not exciting. Like, maybe once it was, and the damage on this still not great. Black Knight really fallen off as well, I think. He was never amazing, but he was all right. And I think nowadays it's just, you pull a Black Knight, you're just going to be quite disappointed compared to what you could get from those shards. Next up then, we're leaving Bannerlords for the rest of the video. You'll be happy to know. I'm going to say Altan next. A champion who is, again, back in the day, was an MVP for Clan Boss. He brought increased defense for your team with a big single target hit, and then decreased attack A1. Single target hit. He hit hard as a defensive nuker as well, right? So he was great for Clan Boss back in the day. Then Unkillable came around. Iron Brago was a fusion as well, who was kind of like, I'm Altan, but I'm a bit better. And Altan really, really fell off. I do think that Live Arena maybe could breathe some life into this champion, because he does bring a revive every time he kills an enemy. That also resets his skills. He brings his own increased defense as well. So, he's only single target, but as a big single target nuker that could potentially start killing enemies, putting out a shield, reviving some champions, I think there's maybe some potential for Altan there. But at the same time, he's not going to be top tier, but he might be a decent budget option. Might be kind of cool, might be kind of cool. But yeah, nonetheless, this champion has still been power crept. There are better champions out there for sure. Like Brago is just like, I'm a better version of you, essentially. And yeah, the content has sort of escaped from Altan a bit as well. I think it's a pity, because he's a giant and he looks amazing. He's one of the coolest visually looking champions in the game. I'd love to see them give him some sort of buff. Doesn't have to be crazy, but I'd love to see Altan be more meta, be more relevant in the game again, just because he is such a cool champion. I think that'd be really fun. And then finally, I have to give it to Void Legendary, and that is Sir Nicholas. Probably the definition of power creep in a lot of ways. When this guy first came to the game, I think he was a very accessible fusion. That was a pretty big deal a long time ago. Long time ago. But yeah, back in the day, back when I started, I mean, he'd been around for a long time, even when I started. But even then, he was still considered to be an absolutely fantastic champion. I think he's really fallen off. What was good about him? He had this AoE attack based on HP. And at the time, he was like the hardest hitting HP-based nuker in the game. Of course, nowadays, we've got a lot more champions that hit much harder, and people wouldn't really consider Sir Nicholas to be a nuker much at all these days. Also putting out this shield on your team. This was, at the time, a massive shield, particularly in the Spider Dungeon. again, just not really that relevant anymore. And we've got insane shield champions like Mithrala, Brogni, and so on. A lot of really good shield champions in the game now that have put a power crept on Sir Nicholas. He's got the unkillable continuous heal. You know, it's kind of useful. It's cool, but unkillable was nerfed for Iron Twins. Now you can only use block damage if you're doing that strategy. Makes him less appealing there. He's okay, but Demytha sort of came in. Man Eater's in there as well that give you that unkillable stuff from just epics that can work. I don't know. Poor old Sir Nick. Again, he's not a bad champion, but compared to the modern Void Legendaries, I think he's much weaker. And compared to how ridiculously good this champion used to be, how much people wanted him, I say nowadays he's in the lower half, really, of the Void tier list, I would say, of just being like, yeah, he used to be a great champion, good, but doesn't hold up anymore. And there you go. They are my 10 champions. 10 champions that I think used to be much, much better. Maybe, like, certainly I'd say Septimus or Nicholas, no question. They definitely used to be really highly valued, really highly sought after champions that have, I think, fallen off and have just keep falling off more the more legendaries come to the game and the more powerful the newer champions become. These old champions, some of them have even had buffs and they still can't keep up. So there you go. What do you guys think anyway? Did I call out any of your favorite champions, or did I miss somebody really obvious that I should have included in this video? I'm sure I did. You can let me know in the comments down below. But thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.